The film starts with news channels talking about a deadly virus called desert influenza. This virus has a 100 fatality rate and has destroyed the entire Earth, killing approximately 3 billion people. With the rapid decrease in population, the United States government has come up with a plan to save humanity. They have built 500,000 underground shelters and will conduct a lottery to select the people who will live in them. Each shelter will only accommodate one person, and they will stay there until the virus disappears. Once everything returns to normal, they will gather the people again and provide them with relocation. The emergency shelters are being showcased, which have sufficient supplies stored in an amazing way that can last for 70 years. The shelters have continuous water supply as the water is recycled and reused. As for electricity, the residents are required to do regular exercise to generate it themselves. As for food, they are provided with a protein drink called Soup Level, which is filled with all the necessary vitamins. The shelters also simulate the weather very accurately, with sunlight during the day and darkness with a moon at night, helping the residents regulate their sleep patterns. After a few years, a group of 7 people hold a video conference, even though they live in separate shelters. They don't do anything without each other's consent. The 7 individuals are named after their respective cities. Boston is a strong but kind-hearted leader. In one of these conferences, a member named Orlando, who is aggressive, attacks the others and tells them that the world will never return to normal and they will all die there. Boston and the others try to calm him down, but Orlando ignores them and reveals his dark past. He confesses to killing 15 people and being sentenced to life in prison. One member of the group, named Atlantis, a strong religious woman, becomes furious at Orlando's talk of murder. She simply responds that his crimes disgust the entire group, and they all want to get rid of him once and for all. Luckily for them, the group has a skilled IT expert named Denver, who tells them that he has learned how to hack into the essential systems. He can most likely stop Orlando's video transmission, but there's a problem. If the transmission is stopped once, it will be impossible to restore it. This means that if Orlando's video calls are cut off, he may have to live the rest of his life alone without speaking to anyone. Of course, this decision is very difficult. So the group decides to vote. 3 people, Boston, Atlantis, and another member named Chicago, agree that the transmission should be cut off. However, there is one member named Phoenix and a man named Houston who believe that the punishment is too severe. They vote against the decision, so the final decision is in the hands of the hacker, Denver. He is about to speak when Orlando interrupts and orders the group to cut off his transmission. Denver successfully hacked the system and made Orlando disappear forever. In the meantime, Phoenix couldn't sleep and started talking to Denver about what happened. She told him that what they did was wrong, but Denver reassured her and said that what they did was right. It was clear that they both had a relationship with each other. After 8 months, the film transitions, and although the group lost one of their enemies, they all adapted well to the new situation. However, one day, there was a glitch in the system. The weather lights in Houston started changing constantly, which made it difficult for Denver to sleep for several days. After a while, the group had their usual meeting where each member shared their findings. It became apparent that each member had a specific task. For example, Atlanta had to monitor their group's page, while Denver was responsible for knowing about the outside world. This was normal because there were additional computers in the hideout that provided different statistics, such as the number of remaining people in the world and the heartbeats of each group member. While everyone was busy with their tasks, Chicago, who was usually the laziest one in the team, felt bored. He told them that everything they were doing was pointless and that they would never see the world again. He pressed a button on the computer to ease his mind, and the hideout manual appeared on their screens. Since there was no option to skip the video, they all had to watch it. It was a perfect time for them to listen to music and relax a bit. In the video, Nadine, the creator of the hideout, explained the different comforts available in the hideout. She mentioned that it was located 30 feet underground and that the 500,000 people were divided into groups of 7. Their only job was to help each other and survive until the virus was eradicated from the Earth. The video ended with Nadine telling them that there was still hope for humanity to continue on Earth. As usual, the group continued their discussion in the conference. Suddenly, without any warning, their computers shut down. Boston thought it was just a temporary glitch, but the rest of them panicked and rushed to their hideout, which started to fall apart. It's strange that all 6 of their devices malfunctioned at the same time, even though they are thousands of miles apart. In another scene, Phoenix calls her boyfriend Denver and tells him that someone might have hacked the system due to a vulnerability. The vulnerability started when they hacked the system and stopped the transmission of Orlando's video. Phoenix tries to convince Denver to hack the system again and restore the transmission of Orlando's video. This might be the only way to get their devices back. However, Denver believes that restoring the transmission is impossible and not worth attempting. Phoenix gets upset when she hears this and starts telling her life story. She mentions that her father died when she was young and she grew up with her mother who started using drugs. Phoenix ran away from home multiple times. When Phoenix returned, she couldn't find her hidden stash in her room and suspected that her mother took it. This made her angry, and she ended up stabbing her mother with scissors, causing her death. Phoenix was then imprisoned with tight security until the virus spread and she won the lottery, which led her to the hideout. Denver is deeply affected by Phoenix's story and promises to restore the transmission to Orlando. Finally, Denver succeeds in restoring the transmission and calls Phoenix to share the good news. However, something strange happens when the transmission is restored. Orlando is nowhere to be found in the scene. In the next scene, the group discusses what they saw in the video, and everyone has a different opinion. Boston realizes that they are safe in the hideout, but Phoenix insists that they need to find a way to escape before it's too late. On the other hand, Houston is going crazy because of the malfunctioning weather lights caused by the system breach. He hasn't been able to sleep for over a week, which has made him join Phoenix's escape plan. Boston then orders everyone to calm down because there is no concrete evidence. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned that night. Houston loses his mind and starts banging his head against the wall. Just at that moment, Houston's transmission cuts off and someone breaks into his hideout. When the signal returns, Houston has disappeared, just like Orlando. Everyone is shocked and finally realizes that there is another problem. The next morning, Phoenix takes charge of the remaining team members and orders them to search their hideouts for something that can help them escape. They all agree and start searching. Atlanta, the religious one, is the first to find something. She discovers a large space on the other side of the food pipe in her hideout. This surprises everyone because the hideout is supposed to be 30 feet underground. Before they can ask her about it, Atlanta's transmission cuts off and someone forcefully takes her away. After witnessing what happened, everyone starts to panic and realizes that they will be pulled out one by one, especially Chicago, who is losing hope in life. With only 3 people left, Boston and Phoenix refuse to give up easily. They start hacking the system using all the information and skills they have. Finally, they make progress and receive a video call from a deranged person who claims to have hacked several survivor hideouts. Boston and Phoenix are skeptical at first, but when Diemer shows them the live broadcast of multiple survivors, they believe him. Diemer then reveals something strange. Despite hacking the entire system, he only found 1,000 hideouts, which is contrary to the previously mentioned 500,000. This raises suspicion for Phoenix, who suggests that they try to escape one last time. However, Boston confirms that there is no way for them to escape from the hideout. Phoenix tells her friends that if they cut the wires inside the hideout, the system will malfunction and the door might open. Her friends see that the plan involves risks, but Phoenix is willing to put her life in danger. After seeing her determination, they agree. Before they start, Denver promises Phoenix that he will travel the world on foot if that's the only way to reach her. Then, the three of them start cutting the wires. As soon as they succeed, the emergency alarm goes off and the door finally opens. The first person to come out is Phoenix, surprising everyone. When she steps out of the door, she finds herself in a very ordinary-looking building with a large hallway. Phoenix had been imagining that she was inside a hideout all this time, but the reality was completely different. She is still trying to understand what is happening when Denver comes out of the room next to hers. This means that they have been living in the same building for the past 6 years. They embrace each other with mixed feelings of joy and confusion. At the same time, Berlin also comes out from another door. The three of them start exploring this strange building. Finally, after 6 years in the hideout, they reach the rooftop and see the sun. Phoenix climbs up the ladder to get a view of the city from above. It's strange because everything seems to be normal. People are walking on the streets, and the streets are crowded. After a while, Phoenix turns around to tell her friends what she saw, but she finds them hiding from someone. It turns out that 2 police, like officers, have been watching them all the time and looking for them. Since they can't escape from the rooftop, Berlin decides to distract the officers while the others escape. The plan works, and Berlin and Denver go down to the lower floor until they reach the office. Suddenly, Nadine, the one who came up with the idea of the hideout, enters the room with a gun and threatens Denver to step back. She also warns Phoenix to stay away from him and tells her that he is a very dangerous person. Phoenix is confused and doesn't understand what is happening exactly. Finally, Nadine reveals everything. It turns out that these hideouts are actually prisons, and everyone inside them is a prisoner. Criminals like Phoenix are imprisoned for life. In this dialogue, the prisoners were transferred to the hideouts, but Nadine wanted to give them hope in life and a new goal. Of course, there was no desert flu or anything else. All the reports that came in the news were fake and made up just to make the prisoners believe the situation. All the conclusions that Danforth made were actually achieved when Nadine said that there were only 1,000 prisoners locked in the hideouts. Then Phoenix asked her why they forced the prisoners to come out of their hideouts, referring to the many disappearances that occurred recently. Nadine told them that when Orlando was expelled from the team, his video leaked to the public, which caused public outrage. It seemed to them that these prisoners were living a life of freedom and luxury in the hideout. That's why the government ordered them to stop the project and release all of them, so they could make some adjustments to the hideouts and then return them. Currently, they are modifying their hideouts in a way that reduces the prisoners' freedom and makes their lives less comfortable and more annoying. It was expected that what was said would shock both of them, but Phoenix still had one curiosity. She asked Nadine why Danforth was imprisoned. Nadine told her that he kidnapped 15 girls from the internet and brutally killed them. Phoenix collapses when she hears this because she knows that Danforth was deceiving her and didn't understand that he loved her. A little later, the police enter the room and take them both out in the final scene. There, they find the whole group except for Chicago. Orlando was also present, but when he tries to escape, he is shot and killed. The film ends with the remaining 5 survivors returning to their hideouts, which have now turned into a hellish and terrifying room.